Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Good morning, kids. It is week 9 on the Enterprise D build. Believe it or not, week 9. Over 2 months spent on this. And it's Sunday. I'm back from church and I'm getting ready to take the clamps off of this because I can't wait another day. There's no reason to it. I'm here. I can take them off. It's not going to get any more cured now than it was on Friday when I clamped it up. So what this is going to allow me to do is I am going to take the clamps off and I am going to dress this edge with some steel stick, and then I can be having that set up overnight so that tomorrow when full-fledged work commences I can have a jump start by having this stuff already having that steel stick cure, because it doesn't need nearly as much time as the JB Weld does. So let's start by taking off the clamps. Now we're going to see some rough joinery here that's going to have to be neatened up and cleaned up. That's par for the course. That's exactly what we should be expecting. And now, see, the nice thing about as heavy as this is, the nice thing about having the felt feet on it is that it slides very easily. As heavy as this base is, and it is heavy, I can push it around fairly easily. Clamps come off, clamps come off, and we've got a nice secure bonded joint right in through there. That's going to need a little sanding, it's going to need a little touch-up painting, and we're ready to do that now. Now that this is all done, I think I could take this much back into the studio and, well, let me get this tape off. But I could take this much back into the studio and deal with it there on that table. Alrighty, now hopefully you can see easily enough where our problem is, where our issue for today. I'll put this flashlight on it to make it easier to see. Right in here, we've got a big old gap. And that big old gap is due to the fact that it's exactly the same thickness of the metal plate that we were provided with from Helios. And that area is going to be easy enough to fill in. But we do need to put some sort of thick putty in this gap right here. Now, the easiest thing for me to do would be to use something like a steel stick or a epoxy sculpt. And I may end up using some epoxy sculpt along the side edge here to kind of give it the concave that it needs. But I'm going to use steel stick for 2 reasons. One is it sets up very quickly and rock hard, and it'll fill this bigger gap. I won't have as much of a danger of actually pushing it in too far and having it disappear inside the hull. So we're going to use it for that. But for the more cosmetic things, I think we will end up using the epoxy sculpt, even though it takes longer to cure. But what will happen is I can spend more time tooling that concave that has to happen there. This metal plate that they provided is meant to be the same thickness as the sensor band. So it was intended to do that. I will argue with how successful that came out in reality as far as, you know, how the intent was, but that's an argument for another day. I am also going to be putting that in so that I can start addressing this top seam here. We have a bit of a top seam. That'll probably, I'll either use some white tulip or maybe some very diluted epoxy sculpt to kind of clean that area up, and then we can touch the paint up around it. Okay, so I'm halfway done. I thought it'd be a great spot to check in. Having to use the steel stick in small dabs and dibs because it does go off pretty quickly. So you don't want to do a bunch of it and then have it basically get too stiff to work with. So I've got this side worked up, and I'm going to start with a flat edge and then wait for it to set up. And then I think I'll take a grinding tool and actually put the concave into it rather than trying to sculpt the concave in now. That's taking too long, and that's causing it to set up. Hence my admonition to work in tiny batches. But it's going a lot, it's going about as good as I'd hoped. I was going to say it's one of those things that you kind of have in your mind how it's going to work, and you're pleasantly surprised when it does in fact work that way. So just mixing it up tiny bit by tiny bit, and like putting it here and pushing it into the gap. And the nice thing about it setting up so quickly is it also does give you, by the time you come back over it, it gives you a nice substantial backing to put the new stuff into without it also distorting. So I'm taking this and one of my favorite sculpting tools and just pushing it in flat. And I'm keeping the back of this tool wet, which is plain water. Got to keep it cleaned off, and just pushing it in like that, and then running a level around it to scrape it to get the high spots off. And I'm taking this little bit that I am getting ready to finish up with, making sure that I'm not leaving too much on the outer edge here that has to be cleaned up. Get that off while it's still wet, so to speak. Makes it easier to clean that area off. So I'm happy with this side. Now I need to muscle this thing around and work it into this joint on the way back. That finishes the steel stick portion of our gap filling. I'm going to go wash my hands because this stuff not only does it get all over, but it's very dark and will show up very easily on your paint scheme, on your paint job. And that is the other thing, which is probably its most important characteristic that I forgot to mention, is it is a superior light block. And if you recall, when I fired this thing up, I had a big old light leak right through this joint. I fully anticipate that being a thing of the past because of this material. And plus we're going to put a dark gray line of paint through there, like the sensor palette demands that we do, or the sensor band. We also have that going on up here in the neck, up here in the neck, and going all the way around the saucer there is that trench that needs to be painted. That is the major part of this week is going to be the painting and finishing of the saucer. Good morning, folks. It is week 9, believe it or not, week 9 on the Enterprise D build. Very few builds have gone this far or taken this long. I was reminded just how many of them there were. I thought there were less than there are, so proves to me that some people know my history of builds better than I do. But where we're at today, it's Monday, and Sunday I did do some work. This has turned out beautifully. This whole cleaned up joint, that's gone beautifully. And this morning I put some Tamiya putty just over here that I've sanded down, and I'm going to put I think I'm going to spray a little bit of gray paint over that just so I can see the contours of it, masking, the sides of the joint off so I don't get too much overspray. But that'll show me a cleaned up view of what is left to do to clean that up. But we're going to be removing this from the table because we are working on the Aztek pattern, or the accent color for the saucer, and that's a big load of work that needs all of the space on the desktop. Alrighty, I think I'm ready to go now. I have spent the majority of the day coming up with some shapes here, and I want to amplify the fact that these are by no means they're an attempt to honor the actual shapes on the ship, but I am not by any means representing these as the official canon shapes, because frankly there are a blue million of these, and they're all blue of these shapes, and what I am aiming for is something that may not be as elaborate as the real thing, but will give you the impression of the real thing. I am not I won't say that I'm not interested in making a good product, because I am, but I am not interested in duplicating the minutia of this design. So what I've done is I've got a few good shapes here, and I'm going to cut these wedges into smaller shapes so that I can lay them down over the contours of the ship or of the hull, and we will work out the masking, and then we'll back paint the light blue. But I've got this much done. I'm going to go ahead and put the masks down and then show you what that looks like. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. Welcome back. I say welcome back. It's me. You know that. You may be asking yourself, Lou, where's all that lovely yellow vinyl you had down yesterday? I ripped it up. I didn't like it. There was something about it that I didn't like, and I remembered the old adage: if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you should do is stop digging. And out of all of what I did yesterday, I like the ones that are inside the ring there, so I kept those. But everything else got ripped up, and I was trying to do too much with the accent color. I forgot that the first word in accent color is accent. It is not a third color, it is an accent. I had too much of it, and I was getting too precious with the shapes. And then also, I had to factor in the fact that I've got a bunch of stuff that's happening here. I don't have to do this all with paint. I've got a string of lifeboats that are going in here. I've got windows that'll be revealed. I've got a registry that's going right about there. I've got decals here and here. I've got surface stuff. I've got to paint this yet. I was trying to do everything with that accent, so I scrapped all of that. Went back to the drawing board, literally. Went back to the drawing board, and I drew in some new, hopefully less intrusive shapes that I'm ready to put down, and I'm going to try, again, rather than try to do the whole thing all at once, I'm going to do this half and see if I like it. And then if that works, I'll plot the other half. If not, then I will back up and try again. But what I was not liking is that I had a design that I had done here, and I flopped it for here. Well, that put everything that happened in the center, made it too busy. So I did an independent design that is the full half, and then I flopped the whole thing. So I'm still not... And well, then that's not true, because I went in and once I had flopped it and tweaked some of the shapes to make it fit better. But I was trying to do the easy way out, which is, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's be honest. The easy way out is to do one of these and try to duplicate it. This ain't a saucer. I mean, this is not a circle. You don't get the same shortcuts with this oval that you do when you are dealing with a completely circular. And I just found a whole template here that I forgot to remove, that you don't get when you have a circular saucer. You can get away with some stuff. This oval isn't going to allow you to do that. So I've already plotted them. I'm going to put them down now and see how they look, and then we're going to evaluate that. If I can get both sides painted today and put to the side, that's tremendous. I can turn around and start on the top. I have to say that this is going down a lot easier than yesterday. You'll notice the shapes are a lot fewer and a lot smaller in some cases. Let's see, that is going here. That is the piece that I want. What I'm doing is, if there is a piece that I need to line up, I am going ahead and putting this on where I want it to go, so that it will make it easier when I pull the vinyl off of the sheet and put it down all at once, if I can line it up around that piece, then the rest should fall in line pretty closely, if not exactly. And I've also put in some extra score lines along where the panel lines would be. I'm going to tape over those, but it gives me smaller pieces to deal with, and they should fall into shape a lot quicker, or with a lot less trouble, let's just say that. So if that goes there, and then I put this over top of it, that will kind of force this one to be where it wants to be. Now I still have space in between all of these big template pieces because, again, we're putting two-dimensional vinyl over a three-dimensional shape. So I'm going to run some painter's tape in between those just to keep them safe from the overspray that's going to happen. And that wants to go there. And again, if I lay that in place, it should fit good enough that close enough is good enough in this case, because remember, I know you'll probably hear me say this a lot, and I apologize for that, we've got all kinds of lifeboats going on through there. Doesn't make any sense in the world to waste time putting an accent color behind where a lifeboat is going to be. I have to believe, now I have no, this is my own thinking, this is not anything that I know, as is the case with most of my thinking. My own thinking says that when they pulled this ship out of mothballs to repaint it for generations, that they did not take up the lifeboats. They may have painted over the lifeboats, they may have put new decals on top of the lifeboats, but they didn't strip everything down and repaint. They kind of painted their accents, and a lot of the accent, from what I could tell, a lot of the accent panels, the whiter panels, they, for all the world to me, they look like somebody went in and painted those by hand on top, and they kind of followed the outlines of some of the shapes. I don't think that I think it was done with a brush by hand. I don't even think it was airbrushed. But that could be just me. But so what I'm saying is, I don't think that they stripped up all the lifeboats. I think they painted around the lifeboats. So for my eye, what's going to happen once these lifeboats go down is it's going to cover up a lot of the two-tone hulls, but not necessarily a lot of the accent colors, because the accent colors were painted on after the lifeboats. And this will be the last piece I'll put down on camera, because you can see how persnickety it's becoming. But I'm kind of loosely staying inside. Gotta cut around that piece of fiber optic. Loosely staying around the dimensions here. Pull that one back out. There we go. Okay, I'm going to finish this up and I'll get ready to cut the other side. Okay, now I've got the saucer taped off completely, and I am ready to spray the light blue. You'll notice it's not taped off entirely, and it's not really vital that I tape it off entirely. I just need to tape off where the shapes are. I don't plan, like the whole saucer or the whole phaser ring isn't taped off, but I don't plan on slopping paint over the whole thing. So if I keep fairly tight to the shapes, I will be in okay shape to go ahead and just paint those. Alrighty, all of the holes have been sprayed. I think I'll let them dry for a bit, come back, maybe do a second pass on them so that it's nice and bright. But that'll be the next step. I think it's a good time for lunch right now, so we will let this dry, come back and zotz it with another light coat. Okay, I've taken the appropriate amount of lunch break, and now I'm getting ready to remove these masks. I was going to put a second coat of the light color on here, but I pulled it off to see what my contrast was looking like, see what the color was doing, and it's just fine with the one coat. So we're just going to go through and just start stripping off the vinyl. We're going to be very careful. We're going to be moderately careful. These are big shapes, so there's a lot of surface under there that could get yanked up if we're not at least a little cautious. So we'll be a little cautious. Still lots of painting to be done. I've got to mask off the phaser strip and get that painted, amongst everything else that needs to get done. But I think that's crying out to be done next. But I'll tell you that I will wait until I have the top saucer accent colored, because the phaser strip up there also needs to be painted, and it needs to be painted the same color, and there's no sense mixing up that color more than once or getting it in the airbrush more than once. So we'll go ahead and finish up at least get the top of the saucer complete to this stage, and then we'll hit both of them at the same time. Yeah, this is working out nicely. See, what I was doing, I was spinning my wheels on, was I was putting on too many shapes of this lighter color. And you don't have to. You got to keep the whole project in mind. And what's going to be handled with decals, what's going to be covered up anyway, all of that kind of stuff comes into play. You don't have to cover every square inch every time. Let's get this guy off of here. Come on. There you go. And let's get the rest of these off. Cooperate with me, for heaven's sake. And I'm making a big old pile of vinyl here, so this does eat up the supplies, I'll tell you that. As big as this ship is, there's no way to do anything small on this kit. Oh, those are looking nice. Those are right where I wanted them to be. Okay, well, we'll pull this off. And I'll finish this off, and then we'll get on to doing this same work on the top of the saucer. Okay, here is the bottom of the saucer with some of the highlighted accent color visible now. You can see some of that going on in here and around in there. Yeah. Okay, let's pull out the, of course we've got all this from the top. We're going to let that sit, and then we're going to pull out the top saucer and think about doing the same. Now, I got a bunch of these that I ordered from Amazon yesterday, And this is what's going to form the basis of my joinery, male and female joinery, so that I can plug this and unplug it from the neck when I need to separate the saucer. This is a wonderful place to stop for the night. I've got the rest of the top cut, got it plotted. I've got the interior parts on the bridge module masked. I'll have to add tape around these guys. This line here needs to be painted. That'll be a darker gray. But I've got the white or the lightest blue shapes masked and ready to go. I may add some more in here. This area looks smaller on the computer than it does in real life. It looks like I could stand to put some more on there, but we'll see what we can do in the morning. Oh, it's another day. Today is Wednesday, folks, and I have already gotten the jump on the day. I've got all the templates laid down for the top of the saucer. These are things I cut yesterday. Now you'll notice there's a lot of gaps and holes between them. Yes, fear not, we are going to be patching those. That's why I got a lot of tape and a lot of strip vinyl here that I've already cut. And basically what I'm doing is I'm taking bits like this and covering them up, cutting them off. All of the now it's true, the same as yesterday, that if I am not going to be painting anywhere near them, then I am not going to mask it, because, you know, I'm not an animal. I know how to control my overspray. If it is something like this, where we're right up close to the phaser strip, or another shape, then of course, yes. But as far as you know, masking out around the edge, no, I'm not going to do that, because I'm praying that my spray is not going to go out that far. But there are some other bits here that I need to add, particularly up in here and here, that I want to make masks for. But here's a good example. Like these two pieces, I'm just going to put a strip in between, and this is something that I've had scrap from another cutting. I have a tendency to, when I'm cutting something, if I have some room left on the file, I'll put some straight strips in here like this. This is the same as Tamiya tape, if you were going to use that. But it is a little bit, frankly, a little bit better in my estimation, because it's vinyl and it's meant to go there, and it takes the twists and turns better than Tamiya tape. But that's just me. Your mileage may vary. But we're going to close up some of these seams. There's a big one here. Close that up. And then once we get all of these laid down, you'll get a better idea of the actual amount of stuff we'll be spraying. That one needs to come off. Some of these masks have overlapped, and I am also taking care of those, trimming those out as well. But yeah, I'm just doing some last minute checks here to see what might still need an area or two of paint. And then we will proceed with today's work. I believe it was the ancient Roman scholar Jedius Clampett who said, "Whee doggies, that's a lot of masking." Yes, that is a lot of masking, and a lot of masking tape. But we are getting ready to spray the light blue color. Now, I am not ruling out the idea that once all of this is done, that I might not go in by hand with the light blue paint and paint an accent here or there. This is simply the airbrushed version. There are some places, like around the bridge, where the contours change and shift so much then it might be easier just to take a brush and paint something on there rather than trying to mask the negative shape of that. So that is why, that's what I'm saying, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So let's get the blue paint out and do some painting. And there we have it. We have the paint sprayed on there, the light blue, the lightest blue. Let this sit for a bit, and then we will strip these off and see what the results are. I've been a busy boy. Not only have I pulled the masks off, and I think I forgot to document that on film, but I've gone ahead, film, like I use film, video, not even videotape, digital, but I've gone ahead and I've taped off the phaser strip and I've painted that. So it's time to remove these masks, and this is just transfer tape. It has about as much stickiness on it as a post-it note would. It's just meant to guard against overspray. And now this is ready for a blending coat. The blending coat isn't going to do much to the phaser strip because the phaser strip is pretty much, or it's very close in color to the blending coat. Oh, but look at that. Look what happens when you pull those off. That's very nice. So we're going to do a blending coat, and then we are going to hit it with a satin, a semi-gloss, a satin sealer on top of all of this. That's just looking lovely. Now I put on a fairly light coat of this paint, enough to impart the color onto the clear resin piece, but not so much that it's going to block the light that's going to shine out through here, the phaser light. Now the phaser light being right up against that, I'm pretty confident that it is going to still shine out around that. If I could hook this up to the rest of the ship, up to the board, then I could guarantee that, but that's not something I can do right away. Ooh, I just saw a spot there that has to be repainted. Yeah, I didn't let the light blue dry long enough, and I've got a spot here where the tape took it right back up. So we're going to touch that up. I've seen some other spots on the light blue that I want to do some hand work as far as touching up paint, but 99% of this I'm very happy with. Okay, that's the bottom stripe painted. I gave it a bit of time to dry, and now I'm just removing the masking from it, being a little more ginger about it than I was on the top, because, well, the lightest blue on this has had a lot longer time to dry, so I shouldn't be running into any problems with that lifting up. But, you know, better safe than not safe. Ounce of prevention, all of that. Insert your favorite slogan here, but this is where it helps to have a very sharp X-Acto blade, because you can get real close when you're doing your masking. I just laid this tape down, and the fact that my knife was really sharp was able to cut that line, and then basically just pick up the tape, move it to the inside because it has the same arc as the outside. But look at that. Look how clean that is. Yay. Okay, and I've touched up this area here. Now, I haven't taken any of the window masks off. That's going to give me a lot of color. The lifeboats, those are going to give me a lot of color. The pennants, the markings, the decals, all of that has yet to come. And that's going to give me a lot. So we're going to move this back off the table. Actually, you know what? Before I move this off, and because I'm done with this color of paint, I'm done with the cement color, which is what I used for the phaser strips. This is the Vallejo Model Air Cement Gray. because I am done with all of that, I have moved my paints around so many times I gotta find out where they are. Royal Light Gray. Royal Light Gray is the blending coat color, and I'm going to go ahead and give this thing the blending coat before I move it off of the table, and then I can bring back the top, give it its blending coat, and then we'll be ready for the blending coat. And then I think take the windows off, take the window masks off, and then put the semi-gloss over. It doesn't matter if I get semi-gloss on the clear windows. They're foggy anyway. But yeah, we're gonna take this off, blending coat, and then move it, bring the other one in, blending coat, and then come back and take masks off. Yes, that's the order in which we will proceed. The blending coat's been put on the top. It looks slightly duller now. You won't notice as many of the high gloss shines in the areas where the light, where this French blue is. That gloss French blue, the gloss of that has been knocked down a bit. I did notice some more of those white or light blue patches that need touching up, and I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I think actually I can do that with a brush and the paint out of the jar, and that will give me more of a handmade look. Just going back in and filling in some of the shapes that got a little bit of paint lift. Let's see if there's anything else. I'm still finding areas where I forgot or missed vinyl that needs to come up. It's one of those never-ending jobs. You think you're done, and I think the last thing to do is to like take a flashlight and shine it across the surface of the ship, and that will show me any raised bits that are still there from vinyl that escaped being removed. And of course, a nice thing about doing this by hand is I don't have to get any fancy masking tools out. Plus, I'm just filling the shape back in. I know where it is. I know what it looks like. I'm just drawing in some nicks, and it's giving me a nice hand painted look to some of these panels. And let's see if there's anything floating around here. The top, like I said, this had longer time to dry, so we should be having less incidences here to worry about. I am spotting them nonetheless. Now, if this were, say, the Star Wars universe, that would be absolutely no problem, because, you know, chipped paint is, you know, the name of the game there. Okay, we're looking good for all. I need to paint this bit gray, the dark gray. I gotta get that back out. But I'm looking to see if there is any more. Ah, there's one. There you go. And I like it. It's giving me an additional layer of color here. I may go in after we're all done and just draw in some more shapes. Is that a piece of vinyl? Every time I see yellow, I am thinking that there's a piece of vinyl stuck in there. Let's see, I can see taking this, painting in some light blue shapes in between others. Yeah, I think that's going to be a fun thing to do. Just add some more of these smaller shapes. I can see doing some of those back here on the bridge module as well. Okay, we're going to let that go and see if there's any more light blue that needs a little, oh, there's one right here that needs a little how do you do. And there you go. One right down front. Right down here on the front. Okay, that's great. Now, let's get the darker gray paint out. Paint this ring back in here. And then we'll be ready to start removing windows. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway of the weekend, and hopefully you can see what I am doing. I am pulling the windows off of the top of the saucer, and then when I finish with this, I will go do the same on the bottom of the saucer, and then all that's left to do after that is to put a clear coat on top of them. What I have done out in the other room is getting the ship is on the stand with the bottom saucer in place. What I want to do once this is ready, I am aware of the fact that, sorry, let me turn this around so you can see what's going on back here. Turn some lights back on. This angle here, this design, does not precisely match the top of the neck. We knew that going in, but how far off and how close it was going to be to fitting was something we kind of had to wait until we had some things nailed down. A lot of the ship is in flux, and we have to have the capacity to deal. Yes, we need a flux capacity. I'm sorry I went there, but you knew I was going to. Here's the thing. The top of the neck, once it's set, once I had it bolted down to the base and had the top part epoxied down to the belly part and all that, once that was set in stone more or less, that was going to give us our final dimension here. And what I'm going to have to do is fit this over top of the stand that we have out there. And then we are going to take a little scriber here, and we're going to see what parts of this need sanding. I really do like the look of this. It's nice and even. So maybe it's something that we have to decide it has to come off the top of the neck and not this. That's where we're going to kind of have to make our play as to what side actually gets the carving done on it. So while I'm figuring that out, the best thing to do is go ahead, take some minutes, take the windows off, and then get this sprayed and ready to go. All right, curiosity got the best of me, so I brought it out here even before I got the rest of the windows off. And I brought it out here to set it in place because I really want to build these impulse decks today as well. And it looks like what needs to happen is just a little bit off of these corners. These corners are a little too sharp. And if I could take just a little bit off of there like that on both sides, that's going to allow me to pull this saucer back in place the way it needs to be. I also need to raise it up a little bit here in the middle, just a scooch. So I think what I'm going to do is, let me hold the phone. Okay, so I've moved this. I moved the saucer a little bit forward to show you the problem. I think what I want to do is put a piece of metal or something to go underneath here so that when this sits on top of it, it will force it up to the same level. These pieces here are the same thickness here and here, but if I put a piece of a shim underneath that, That will give this lip something to sit on when it's hitting it, and the rest of it will form down around it. That is the goal, and if that works, then I can put like a magnetic catch over the top of this, and that'll help hold the top down, magnetically speaking. Well, here you go. It took about 3 hours, give or take. I did get up and walk away a couple of times and stretch my legs and, you know, stretch my neck, that type of stuff, to get all of these windows off. But off they are, and I only kept the stabbing down to a minimum. I only stabbed myself a couple of times. That's not so bad. But here you go. Now I'm going to block some of these off from the inside because there's no real reason to have all of these windows lit. But to do that, I'm going to put this on top of the bottom piece and see where my window, and maybe get that bottom, get the lighting hooked up to the main, just temporarily get it hooked up to the main circuit boards so that it can shine the lights up through, and I can see where my weaknesses are to begin with, and that's going to tell me where windows I can go ahead and block out and not disrupt too many things. But yeah, we're in good shape. The next step is going to be to sit this on top. I'm going to sand the top of that neck piece where those corners are. I want to get those finessed a bit, and then I can take this out and put the clear coat on top on it. Okay, this idea, I guess like all ideas, will either work or it will not. What I've done is I've run up to the hobby shop, local hobby shop, picked up a piece of brass, a strip of brass, and what I've done is I've basically epoxied it to the underside of the neck there. Now it means these windows here won't light, but I don't care. That's a small price to pay. But what that's going to do is it's going to give me a form and a lip and a structure for the back of that saucer to fit down over so that it matches the contour of the neck. My only concern is that it's going to turn out that the resin piece, the top of the saucer piece, that's not going to want to bend enough right there. So I'm prepared to be upset, but for right now everything is good. We're going to give this a few hours to set in, and I'm going to clean up the epoxy that's left on there. Now the nice thing is this will also give me a place to put in any sort of putty or anything that I want to use to match up that joint and make it more secure. But I think it's going to be closed up enough that I'm not going to get too concerned about it. I may have to do something with sheet styrene around these corners here to fill in that joint. But right now that's borrowing trouble right now, so I'm going to leave that alone. Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, the last work day of the week, the last work day on the Enterprise D for this week. I'm thinking, I mean, I might do some stuff over the weekend, but the days are getting preciously few before I am gearing up for the big trip across the pond, so there's only so much I can do. What I did this morning was I went ahead and took all the windows off of the lower hull. I've got this removed, or lower saucer, got it removed from the neck and the rest of the ship, and brought it in here, took the masks off. Easier to do because there are quite a few less windows on the bottom, but this is the area we're going to have all those lifeboats, so there's a lot more going on here as far as the lifeboats, but a lot less as far as windows. So I got those all off. I touched up the paint a little bit around some of the window openings, particularly in those dormers where it was kind of tough to get paint in around corners. So that's all done. It's warmed up enough outside that I can take this outside and put a clear coat on it, a satin coat on it, and then we can get back to remounting it and continuing work on the impulse engines, which is where I left off yesterday. I was a creature of impulse yesterday and did the boxes that need to fit around. Let me show you those. Hold on one second. Okay, here you can see I've flipped it back over so you can see the inside of the bottom of the saucer. Now the impulse decks go right in here, and of course, fine folks, Helios provide absolutely no guidance for those. So I had to come up with some sort of little box that looks like, let me see, if this is going to go here like that, then the box is going to go, let's see, it's going to go, let's try to do everything upside down and backwards here. I did 2 of them, and they're meant to go like that, I think. Let me see. Did it go? No, it didn't go like that. Aha! It went like this. There you go. That means the other one went like that. Then they're upside down because I built them on the top of to go onto the top of the saucer. But basically it's a box like this that I will put a tiny strip of red strip lighting along the back of it to shine out through. I haven't quite decided yet whether I need to put a top over that. I have to put these 2 pieces together and see what kind of room is left in there. I can at least put some silver tape here to help reflect the light around, and then that'll go in something like that with LEDs on the back wall, and then a strip coming out and joining the rest of it. But yeah, that's what we need to do for both of the impulse engines on the saucer. But let's take this outside and put some clear coating on it. Okay, I think we've got our pocket made for our first impulse engine. And of course, it's always the first one that takes the time because you're figuring out how to do things. And then you just repeat it on the other one. But there we go. I think by the time we put that in, that gets the light far enough away from the surface of the impulse engine opening that you get more diffusion. It's a precarious amount of gluing surface we have here, so I'm just looking at it down the edge and it seems to be fine. This wall here is the important one. That's the thing that's not built into the kit that needed to be, and I think we're going to have to do some sort of puttying or taping around that to light block that around the engine insert. And I'm wondering if my old friend Fiberfill is up to being stuffed in there. But I think we can do that at the last, because this part here I want to go ahead and glue on after the top and the bottom of the saucers are joined together. So we'll have time to put Fiberfill in between there before that happens. So yay. That took a few minutes to figure out, but once, like I said, once it's figured out, it's easy enough to carry that over into the other side. Seeing lots of work done today, lots of tiny little things like the pockets for the impulse engines. Got the shuttle bay installed. I need to blend this edge here a little bit better, and I think what I need to do is do a very delicate coating of JB Weld just in that joint there. The thing I like about JB Weld is as it's curing, it skins over and makes a nice smooth surface, and I think that's what we need. Now the door here is going to be on most of the time, so that's all good. It's just that when the door is off that we're going to have that ugly joint there, so that's why I need to control that. Starting to codify or coalesce or otherwise condense the wiring on the inside of the saucer. Let me flip this over so I can show you. I'm kind of proud of how neat it is. This is the wiring on the inside. Now I've taken all of my marker lights and position lights and brought them around the outside of this ring here, and everything is kind of coming to here. We've got our one common, these are the common positives, and then all of the loose wires you see are effect wires. Like this one is the front marker light, these are the back 2 marker lights. I can go ahead and join those up, and these are the red and green strobes. I can go ahead and join those up. Sorry, you're not even looking at me. This is a position light, or a red and green light. I can join those up, and then my goal is to get everything to where I am ready to attach these type of plugs which will allow me to join it to the neck. So that's kind of where I'm at. Here you can see the pocket of the, well, let me see if I can, no I can't, it's a stretch. But I've got both of the impulse, wait a minute, I've got them right here. No, I don't have them stripped. Let's not do that just for the sake of show. I have both of the impulse engines wired in. So it's going to be a question now of condensing all this and getting it to fit over top of the neck. Now I did have to do some grinding and cutting on that piece of brass that I put in yesterday, and I knew I was going to do that, but I thought it was better to do it in place than to pre-cut it, just because A, now I know exactly how it needs to be cut, and B, I can depend on the full width of it when I was clamping it in place yesterday. Let's go take a look at it. Okay, here is that piece of brass. Now you can see where I've cut relief cuts into it, and I've bent them down. I knew that sticking up was going to be too obvious and it was going to be in the way. It's looking like even a little bit more of this has to come out. But like I said, this brass is very soft, very easy to cut with a grinder, Dremel tool with a grinding wheel in it. And I can trim these guys down, and it's something that I was not going to know how much of that needs to be cut until it was in place. And like I said, it's easier to take care of that now since I had used the full width of the brass piece to stick it in place. Alrighty, I just troweled a little bit of the JB Weld substitute or JB Weld off-brand epoxy into that joint. Yes, it's shiny. That's the nature of it. I'll put a flat coat over that, but frankly, as long as it stays inside the line here, we're in good shape. And it's all inside the line there. We can always touch it up later, but I don't want to get the door glued in here by mistake. Ugh, that's tough to handle. Yeah, that's cleaned up there. And like I said, it's going to find its own level and skin over before it cures, which is why I like using that for this application. Okay, I've moved out into the living room now because this is getting too big to move into the studio. Plus, I've got the saucer top sitting in there, and I don't want to disturb that JB Weld. But what I'm going to do here is kind of what I did on the inside of the top saucer. I want to start condensing or coalescing or otherwise compacting, using all my C words today, the wiring that's going to go into the bottom of the saucer so that I can gather all of my common positives together and my effect wires to get them ready to go into this bundle here. You can see what I have had to do here with that metal piece as far as banging it down and bending it and grinding it a little bit to make the top fit better. And we are still, I will tell you, we are still operating under the presumption that I will be able to remove this saucer. Now, if it becomes too big of a deal, too much of a hassle, and if I can't get it to reliably separate and go back together, I may have to forego that and make it all completely one piece. At this point, I've got no love lost for either version, but I do want to be able to remove this saucer simply because it's going to be so much easier to detail it and decal it and put the lifeboats on and all that if I can make it removable. So that's going to depend on how clean of a joint I can get with the top of the saucer and how repeatable the docking maneuver is going to be. If it turns out that I can't do it, that's the first thing I'm prepared to sacrifice. Okay, so we're coming up on Friday afternoon, and that's about the time that I start thinking about closing down and what I can get accomplished before the end of the week. And whilst I was wiring up the secondary, or the bottom of the saucer, I started doing this, and I think maybe this is a good place to end. What it is I'm bringing a wire out of the main circuit board, and that wire has to plug into both the top and the bottom of the saucer, whether it is power, well, it's all power, whether it's the main power or ground wire or what I'm calling the effect wires. Now I'm going to pull out the ones that go into the phaser strips because they don't get that. They get a separate, different type of joinery. But the other ones, I can go ahead and put those pigtails on. Okay, kids, this is it. This is what we're down to. We've got a scant few pieces of ship that have not found their way onto the ship yet, that are not attached. Everything else is fully engaged, as they say. Yeah, we're coming down to it. The last bits of major construction are all that is left. And that's going to happen pretty darn quickly once they get started on it. But I still want to scuff these up one last time, give this a good sanding, and get those ready to go on. And then once the ship is all together, there's going to be another round of touch-up painting. There always is. There's going to be puttying that has to happen. There's going to be patching. There's going to be paint scrapes and stuff like that. So all of that has to be done. And then a semi-gloss coat over the whole thing. Then the decals. Then the flat coat over the decals. So we've got miles to go before we sleep. But we have a good chunk of this ship is done. A good chunk of it is done. And you've seen the video. You've seen it all together at one point or another. It's just a question of pulling all the wires together and putting the plugs on at this point. The last big hurdle is going to be getting the top and the bottom of the saucer to irrevocably join together. And I cannot do that until I've got all of the wiring sorted out. And that means putting the positive ends on all of the action wires on either side. And that's something I might address over the weekend, because next week, kids, next week is well, it's getting ready for Telford. It's getting ready for another trip to the island, across the pond to Old Blighty. So that's going to take up a lot of my time and energy. And at the risk of repeating myself, yeah, we're down to it. You saw the video. You saw how much we got done. Got a lot of stuff done. But we're on big chunks now. Big chunks that are not easily movable. And we're to the point where once we're making decisions, that's it. That's the final time that thing is going to be addressed. So we've got to make ourselves happy with it, because for a lot of it, there is no going back. That neck joint at the back still has me bugged. I will tell you that is the single biggest headache that I'm looking at right now, is getting that pulled together and seeing whether it's going to go as easily as I hoped. It's probably going to take some test fitting with the clamps and whatnot, but got a lot done. Got a lot done, got a lot more to do. So until next week, like I said, is nutsy. It's a nutsy week. I've got, not a Nazi week, a nutsy week. We've got a special guest coming in. Phil's flying in on Wednesday. I have to go pick him up, and then Thursday we're flying out. So if I get anything done next week, the video will probably go up on Wednesday. So until then, y'all be safe, be smart, go out and vote. I think this will the next time I see you after this. If you haven't early voted, vote like your life depends on it. And we'll see you here next time.